Shannon, and I am the founder of Leg Up Legal. We provide a mentoring program that connects prospective law students to lawyers for mentoring so they can learn more about the legal profession before they decide whether or not law school is right for them. And we started hosting these Zoom meetups for pre-law students, current law students, and young lawyers to all be able to connect with each other and learn more about things that will help them in their careers. So I've been inviting in guest speakers who are lawyers, law school admissions consultants, and all sorts of different folks for you guys to hear from. And today I'm super excited to introduce Talar Corsi, and she is the general counsel for a car dealership right now, but she worked in a law firm and has had a very long legal career, and so she's going to tell you about all of her experiences today. So Talar, I'll let you take it away.
Hi, Angie. Thank you for having me. As I was telling Angie earlier, I have not prepared. I've prepared a little bit, but I have terrible concept of time. And now I'm looking at myself. It's really weird talking to myself. Do you guys all like my shirt? You're on mute. So anyway, I was trying to think of what I'm going to call my talk because I don't know why I had a need to call my story something. It's called My Perfectly Imperfect Legal Career. Because if there's one thing I want you to get out of today's conversation is she's a hot mess. She has no idea what she's doing. I still don't know what I'm doing. I didn't in college and I didn't in law school. And yet here I am. I have made it. And I'm still making it and muddling my way through. So I want you to feel like if she can do it, I can do it. So if you leave today feeling that way, then I have accomplished my goal. So this was supposed to be billed as me sharing my story from my legal career, my perfectly imperfect legal career, which started as a file clerk when I had just graduated from high school. My dad, who has since passed away, asked me when I was 18 years old, I just graduated, what are you going to be when you grow up? And as a kid, I wanted to be a movie star, but he quickly poo-pooed that because there was no steady paycheck. And so I told him, I don't know. He said, well, you better figure it out because you only have 4 years to graduate college. Not that he was paying for my college, I was paying for it, but I came from a very strict immigrant family and my dad told me what to do. Just as an aside, I asked him once when I was a lawyer practicing law when he was going to stop telling me what to do. And he said, very frankly, when I'm dead. So fair enough, I had fair notice. So anyway, my dad says, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know. I have to figure it out. So I had a strategy. My strategy was I'm going to go find entry-level jobs and I'm going to go work in different industries and entry-level jobs and see who the happiest people are and see what I like. And maybe that's what I will do. So I went to our career services. This is, gosh, how many years ago? Almost 30 years ago. So before the World Wide Web, before social media, before even email. And so I had to go to a building and there was career services and there was a bulletin board. And on the bulletin board, there were all these different jobs. And I had my little notepad and I wrote down all these different jobs, phone numbers, and I started, calling and applying and doing whatever. I don't remember all the places that I applied to, but the first interview that I had was at the law firm Fisher Phillips in Irvine, California. And I applied to be a file clerk there. I went and I interviewed and they offered me a job later that same day. And I just accepted, why not? I will tell you that I was the slowest file clerk ever because I read everything I filed. I'm not sure if I knew I didn't have to read everything, but I did it anyway because I wanted to learn about the law and what was going on. And I remember one day I was reading this demand letter from somebody who claimed our client, their manager had subjected them to sexual harassment. And it was horrible. It was appalling. It took me 15 minutes to read this 7-page letter. And after I was done reading it, my heart was just beating really hard. And I thought, I cannot stand for this. And I marched into the managing partner's office, Jim McDonald. And I said, Jim, I can no longer offer my filing services for this client because I cannot support what they've done. He smiles at me. He didn't fire me. And he said, okay. And I walked out and I was very proud of myself. I was still a young, naive college student then. But later, after working at the firm for a while, I realized that just because somebody says something happened, it doesn't mean that it actually did. And even if it's in a fancy long letter, it doesn't mean it actually happened. And over the years, I ended up staying at Fisher and Phillips in different capacities in clerical stages for all 4 years during college. I did graduate in 4 years. I worked on employee handbooks for our clients. I worked on billing. I was the receptionist at times and would answer the phone. I would pick up dry cleaning. I babysat the kids. I got their cars washed. I did everything. I was one-stop shop value added clerk at the firm. And during my time at the firm, I decided the way that I'm going to help the world and make it a better place was by becoming a management side employment lawyer so that I could help the victim before there could be a victim. And so I decided I'm going to go to law school. And I decided I was going to go to law school. How big was this law office? This law office, they had 5 offices at the time in the country. Now they have 36. And they had, I don't know, 5, 6 lawyers at the time. It's now grown significantly. Fisher and Phillips is the firm. They've rebranded. Now it's called Fisher Phillips is how you would find them. And if you're interested in them, feel free to connect with me and I'd be happy to make introductions for you. I am now their client. I hired my managing partner, Jim McDonald, about 10 years ago. And so now he works for me and I like telling him what to do. I really enjoy that. Was I worried about the repercussions? Absolutely. I thought I was going to get fired. I was prepared to get fired. I thought, that's what you do. It's my peaceful protests. And even if I lose my job over this, I'm somehow, making the world a better place. But Jim had a great sense of humor and he humored me. And, he realized that I just hadn't learned yet. I did learn eventually. So I decided that I was going to go to law school and what kind of lawyer I was going to be before I even knew what my major was going to be in college. So after knowing that that's what I was going to do, and my plan was I'm going to come back to Fisher and Phillips and be a lawyer here at this law firm. I went and surveyed all the lawyers at my firm and said, okay, I want to come work and I want to do what you do. If you could do it all over again, what would be your major in college? And the majority of lawyers said English. English would be a great major with all the reading and the critical thinking that would really help prepare me for law school. So I became an English major and I enjoyed it. I love books. Just wait. Hopefully we'll have enough time. I have book recommendations for you. These are going to be notes to my younger self that I prepared for you. So going back to my legal journey, the slowest file clerk ever. I did not get fired. I got such invaluable experience. So I graduated in 1999 from law school. I've been a lawyer for a long time and I was in private practice for 10 years. And then I've been in-house for almost 10 years now. But I've only ever been to trial as a non-lawyer. And it was during this time that I was a clerk. My managing partner, Jim McDonald, came to me and he said, how would you like to be our trial logistician? And I said, yes, just like Anna in Frozen. I didn't know what I was saying yes to because I had no idea what that was and I'd never heard of it. But yes, that's what I wanted to do. As it turned out, it was the person who, took care of all the logistics at trials. So from preparing the exhibits, scheduling the witnesses, the audio-visual equipment at the courthouse, which at that time, audio-visual was overhead projectors. You guys might have to Google it to find out what this is, but it was like this contraption where you put the paper on there and then it put the exhibit up on the screen. And it's about a week into this sexual harassment trial, and I'm there every day at trial. It was so exciting. I really enjoyed it. And my partner, Jim, he's having trouble with the overhead projector and he motions to me, Talar, come help me with this, because I was supposed to be the one who knew how to do that, which I'll tell you right now, I'm not a tech person, but I was a whatever you need me to be person when I was a clerk. So I went to go help him with the projector. And I was very nervous because the whole courtroom was staring at me as I got up from behind the bench, and I'm walking over to him in front of the witness stand when all of a sudden the judge wakes up from his nap. He had fallen asleep. He had a tendency of doing that. And he says, "Young lady, Ms. Herculian," that's my maiden name, "what are you doing walking through the well?" And I froze. I had no idea what he was talking about. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm really getting fired this time. And he looks at me and says, "Don't you know about the well?" And I said, "No." I probably didn't say anything. I was too nervous. I was just frozen. So he went on to explain the story of the well. Back before there were guns, the bailiff had a sword to protect the judge. And so you could not get between the bailiff and the judge so that the bailiff could protect the judge. And that area between the bailiff and the judge is called the well. That is why you do not traverse the well. So my public service announcement to you: do not traverse the well. You will get in trouble. Thankfully, I didn't get shot. So he told the story, and I was still frozen there, and I was looking over at the jurors and Jim. The jury thankfully thought it was hilarious, and they started laughing, as well as the rest of the courtroom, and Jim smiled. And so I exhaled a sigh of relief that maybe I won't get fired. So all this is happening. I'm having a great experience. I worked, pretty much full-time hours while I was going to college full-time at UC Irvine. Thankfully, the firm was just down the street from school, so they were able to accommodate my school schedule. It was a quarterly, and so it was changed every quarter, and they would accommodate it, and they were really great. And I had just an invaluable experience. And I decided I'm going to go to UC Hastings, which is the same law school as our new Madam Vice President. And I had the privilege of getting to meet her at an alumni event in Orange County a couple of years after I graduated from law school. And she is a fantastic person, and I was very happy to meet her. So before I left for law school, Jim asked me if I would come back in summer after my first year. And I said, yes, of course. I was ecstatic. Most law students did not have a summer job lined up already. And I won't get into it, but a lot of law students don't even get to summer at a law firm their first summer. That's usually more common in your second summer. So I was excited, and I said yes. And I came back after that first year, and I was ready to be a law clerk. But there was a lot of struggle during that time, because I on the one hand, I'm trying to be a law clerk. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do because nobody told me, and I didn't really get any training. I was the first summer associate summer law clerk there at that office. But there was another summer associate they actually hired as a favor to another lawyer, and they had me supervising this other summer associate, and I had no idea how to supervise him. So it was the blind leading the blind, absolutely. So there was struggle there because I was still treated like I was a file clerk, and I was expected to do things that I had been doing before, and that was taking away from my ability to bill and learn and research and do all the things that I thought a summer associate was supposed to do. I left that summer with a bad taste in my mouth, and I thought, I'm not going to be able to come back here. It's like a kid moving back home with their parents. They're just always going to be the kid. But then the second summer rolled around, and I did OCI, I did everything I was supposed to do, and I didn't get any offers. So I put my pride aside, and I called up Jim, and I said, do you think I could come back in summer again? And he said, no. I won't get into the details of why, but a part of it had to do with office politics. But I mean, it was really hard to hear this from him. He also said that the managing partner was not satisfied with my performance that first summer. And that was really hard to hear. He didn't really give me the details, but I thanked him and I ended the call. I was able to get a summer associate position at a labor employment law firm in Fresno for my second summer. It was called Jory Peterson, Watkins and Smith. The firm was great. The lawyers were great. Fresno was too hot for me. And I was so unhappy there that I drove 4 hours every weekend to go home. And then I would leave Friday evening, and then I would drive back Monday morning at 3 a.m. to make it in time for work. So obviously I did not get an offer at that firm either. So I'm a third year associate. A third year law student. I'm doing OCI, applying everywhere I can, and getting rejection letter after rejection letter, which I like to call my redirection letters. It's just, no, not here, go here. But I was still trying to figure out where that here was going to be. I have kept all my redirection letters because they remind me of a time when I was really down, felt despondent, felt almost like giving up, and know that I was able to succeed. And let me tell you this is a really great feeling. A lot of those law firms that rejected me, redirected me back then, they tried to recruit me later. They wanted me. And I was like, no, sorry, too late. So sad. So that does happen. Anyway, so I get all these rejection letters and I'm thinking, I have student loans. Another public service announcement. Talk to somebody about student loans because you do have to pay them back. I knew this kind of in theory when I took them out, but I didn't really crunch the numbers and I didn't realize how much money I had to actually earn for how many years to pay back those loans, even though I went to a state school. So that's a different matter in and of itself. So I had another strategy. It was, I went to career services at Hastings, and I got a paper list of all the alumni that were practicing labor and employment law in Southern California, management side, because that's what I wanted to be doing. There were maybe 100 or so, maybe 75 on that list. I went through and I wrote a letter to each and every one of them, not saying, can you hire me? I need a job, but saying, I'm graduating from Hastings and I need help. And I'm hoping that you can help me. Maybe there's some advice you can give me, an introduction. I'm willing to take whatever you can give me. Much more eloquently stated, I'm sure. I did not get much of a response from that, but I didn't stop. You will notice if I am anything, I am persistent. Some people call it harassment. I call it persistent. I don't give up. Neither should you. So I would follow up with a second letter and phone calls. And I even had one person, this is one of the guys, John Miller, he's at Littler Mendelsohn now, and he tried to recruit me years later. And I still keep in touch with him, but he called me and he says, I still don't have a job, but I'm so impressed with how persistent you are. I just wanted to meet you and talk to you. So there's something to be said about being persistent, and you never know when that person will show up again in your life. Nothing panned out from that search either. So I swallowed my pride and called Jim again from Fisher Phillips. And I said, Jim, I'm desperate. I can't find a job. Can you introduce me? Can you give me any leads? So he introduced me to one of the outside defense counsel that he used in cases where they needed more than one law firm representing defendants. Usually his law firm would be representing the company, but if there were other individuals that presented a conflict amongst the defendants, they would need to get a different lawyer representing the individuals. So Nancy Power was one of these lawyers that Jim had worked with that he would retain to represent individuals. She was practicing management side employment law at a small insurance defense firm. There were only 2 lawyers in her employment law department. I met with her and she wasn't hiring. They didn't have really the budget or money, but she liked me so much, I think, at least that's what I tell myself, that she convinced her firm to hire me and budget money. It was not a lot of money, $45,000. And even, 21 years ago, that was not a lot of money, but you know what? It was better than nothing. It was a job and I was going to be able to pay that student loan bill every month. So I took it and I said, yes. I did get a bump up to $50,000 after I passed the bar exam. So that was the beginning of me as a lawyer, was at a small insurance defense firm in Tustin, California. And I got such phenomenal experience. I mean, I didn't get training. I had to, just figure things out myself. And I will tell you at the end of my talk, which I don't know when it's going to be, Angie is supposed to come by with my 5-minute warning, but I can't see anybody.
You have plenty of time. We're at 12:26 and you've got until 12:45. So you've got plenty of time.
Oh, okay, good. So anyway, one of the benefits, hindsight's 2020. At the time, I was grateful to have a job. I would have loved to have a job like some of my friends were earning, $70,000, $80,000 a year. But even though I wasn't getting paid the money, what I did get was the experience, just phenomenal experience. I was a few months out of law school when I second chaired a sexual harassment arbitration. I had so much fun. I got to present witnesses and present motions and just be in the thick of things. When you think about trial prep, I was able to take a couple of dozen depositions just in my first couple of years of practice. And at some of the bigger law firms, in your first couple of years, they just have you doing document review. You'll be getting paid a lot of money, but you might not necessarily have access to these opportunities that you might find at the smaller firms. So that part was really invaluable. And that's really what led me to where I am now as an in-house lawyer for a car dealership, because, as I said, this is an insurance defense law firm. And one of their biggest clients was called Universal Underwriters, and they wrote policies for auto. So the work that I got had to do with car dealerships. I've been working with car dealerships since I started practicing, and I know, most of them in California, a lot of them, around the country, and it was really fun to work with. And I've always enjoyed the people and the issues. So I started working with car dealerships just my first year out of law school, and that was really fun. So a couple of years into being a lawyer at the law firm, I never made over $70,000 in those first 2 years because I could make additional money by billing more hours. My parents lost their lease to their restaurant that they had in Orange County. And I had to make more money because I was their retirement plan. They did not have a 401k or retirement plan. My brother and I were going to have to pay their mortgage and take care of them. So I had to make a move to earn more money. That's all it was. I interviewed at one place, didn't pan out. And the reason why I was not chosen was because of my grades in law school. My grades, do you want to know what it is? I had a 2.999 in law school. I enjoyed law school. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed being a law student. And, do I wish I got a 3.0? Yeah. Ironically, when I started recruiting for my law firm, one of the criteria that I was supposed to look for is people with only a 3.0 or higher. I felt kind of like a hypocrite because I didn't even have a 3.0. I had a 2.99. So as a second year lawyer, my grades in law school mattered. And I was not offered a job at the place I interviewed. So I did what I had done before, and I called up my former mentor, Jim McDonald, and I said, Jim, I need another job. I need to make money. Can you help me? Do you know anybody who's looking? And he said, let's go have some lunch. We had some lunch, and it sounded like he was interviewing me. And he said, do you want to come back to the firm? I did not think that was an option. I thought that whatever political fallout I had left had burned that bridge. Not that I'd done it intentionally, but I just didn't think it was going to happen. And I said, yeah, I'd love to. How much are you going to pay me? And they were going to pay me $90,000 a year. So I was like, yeah, I definitely want to come back and work for you. So he said, let me talk to some people and I'll get back to you. And the next thing I knew, October of 2001, on my birthday, I flew out to Atlanta to interview with the office there, and I was offered a job to come back as an associate at Fisher Phillips, where I had started as a file clerk. And I really enjoyed litigating, but what I enjoyed more was the advice and counsel. I still held true to the reason why I got into the practice in the first place, which was I want to be the advisor to the employer. I want to help them do the right thing. I believe in the good of people and that they really are trying to do the right thing and sometimes just need, a reality check, a slap in the face, or some guidance in terms of how to do that exactly.
Talar, did you ever figure out what it was that made them not hire you in the first place, or how did you smooth that over?
I did, and it's so funny. It's like another saga. The managing partner who didn't want me coming back ended up suing the law firm.
Oh,
I became a key witness in that case. There was a lot involved, but let's just say it was an ego of somebody who felt like I wasn't giving him enough respect and attention. And so in response to that, he was like, I'll show you. You're not going to be able to come work here. But what happened in that interim to have him soften, I don't know. But needless to say, office politics, regardless of what industry you're in, what office, whether it's a law firm or not, it does exist. And sometimes you just don't have control over it and you accept it and you move on. Unless it's abusive, then you do not. So where was I? Am I in law school? No, I graduated. I'm going back to the firm, and I'm trudging along, and I'm doing great. I was really great at my job. Clients liked me. They still do. I'm still friends with them. And I think a big part of that is because I genuinely liked people. I wanted to know everything about them, and they became my friends. And like I said, I still stay in touch with many of them now, even though, I'm not doing any kind of client development. But everything changed in 2006. My dad would go to Lebanon for a few months out of the year to go visit family there. And he'd go in the spring, and then he would come back in time for my birthday in October. In 2006, Israel started bombing Lebanon after Hezbollah had kidnapped 3 Israeli soldiers. My dad was there at the time. The US was evacuating Americans. I was pleading with my dad to try to get out. He was not in Beirut. He was about an hour away. And he said, look, I've seen this happen. It'll blow over. Don't worry about it. It did not blow over. This went on from July until about August 20th. In the meantime, my dad had gotten sick. And I didn't realize how bad it was until one night. My cousin who was taking care of my dad called me and said, look, your dad's lying to you. He's on his deathbed. And if you want to see him, you need to get over here right now. And I was in shock. But after hanging up, I called up my brother and I said, I'm going to Lebanon tomorrow. I don't know how. The Beirut airport was bombed. I didn't have a ticket or anything. And he said, well, I'm coming with you. And then my mom found out and she said, I'm coming too. Well, that night I got online trying to find tickets to get into Damascus so that we could drive into Lebanon. I couldn't find anything. The next day I called up my travel agent and I said, Suzette, I need 3 tickets to Damascus today, to leave today. And she said, I don't know if that's possible, but I'll see what I can do. Suzette Jordan Passmore has since passed away, but she is one of the most important people in my life. She came through for me in between chemo treatments and delivered 3 tickets to Damascus within hours of our conversation. I paid $5,000 a piece for them. I would have paid $50 if you asked me. So that night, the 3 of us flew into Damascus, not knowing how we're going to get out because we hadn't gotten visas, had no idea how we're going to get to Lebanon. But there was a man standing there with a sign with my name on it. And it turned out that my college friend had contacted her uncle who was in Damascus and told him about me. And he had sent this person to come help us. And so this person drove us to the border, got out of the car because the border was bombed. We had to walk across the border. I was on crutches. I'd broken my foot in the meantime, of course. Get onto the other side of the border, finds us another driver to take us the rest of the way. I saw my dad alive for 12 hours. He died that night, but he did not die alone, which was my greatest fear. I tell you this story because it was the pivotal moment that I decided I needed to leave private practice. I did make partner that year, even though I didn't meet my billable hours. You know, my gym went up to bat for me again and said she didn't meet her billable hours by 100 because she went to try to save her dying father. They had a heart and they, you know, let it slide. But I started seeing a therapist. I was, you know, I'd gone into a deep depression. And the therapist, I remember her asking me, she says, don't you fight for a living? And I said, yeah, I guess I do. I litigate. And she says, you don't strike me as a confrontational person. I said, I'm not. And it was at that point that it hit me. I need to leave. From the time that I had this realization to when I did leave, took 4 years. 4 years, 2 different medical leaves of absence, a lot of crying, a lot of medication. It was a tough 4 years for me. But I got through it. And in that time, I was trying to figure out, what am I going to do? Because I thought, so I can't be a lawyer. I'm just going to throw it away. I bought this book called What Color is Your Parachute? And, you know, you go through it and try to figure out, what do you like? What do you not like? So that you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. So for a minute, I thought, well, maybe I'm going to sales. And I interviewed with a software company in Portland who is actually interested in recruiting me. And I was, you know, contemplating whether or not to go there when my current boss, John, started what seemed like a joke to say, Talar, I can't afford your bills anymore. I'm either going to have to marry you or hire you. And I laughed it off and thought he was kidding. But our conversations got more and more serious. And I call this our courtship, our 4-year courtship. And during that time, when we're trying to figure out whether or not, you know, he's going to hire me, because where I work, I'm the first and only lawyer of its kind, the first of her name, as it were. So, and they, you know, they now have 2 car dealerships. At the time, they only had 4. It wasn't common for a auto dealership of that size to have, you know, their own in-house counsel. So we were trying to figure out what we're going to do. And during that time, I got engaged and moved to Salt Lake City. And the car dealerships, they're located in Southern California. So I thought for sure, now this just isn't going to work. But I had a conversation with John, his sister Tori, who run the dealerships. They still wanted me. They didn't want any lawyer. They wanted me, which I got to tell you, that is a really good feeling. Just, I like to relive that feeling. They want me. And they said, you know, we'll figure something out. You'll work remote, you know, you come out when we need you. So I was doing the work from home thing before it was even popular with the COVID. I've been doing this for 10 years. As an employment lawyer, they said, draft your employment agreement. I did, which I'm willing to share with you if anybody needs an employment agreement. I included a 1-year guarantee in there, which they accepted. You know, why not ask for it? And the deal was I come out on site once a month for a week. And then that after I had my son 8 years ago, it became 3 days a month. And then it became 2.5 days a month that I go out there. And now I haven't been there for a year because it's the COVID years. My why at the dealership, I just finished reading Simon Sinek's book, which is going to be one of my book recommendations to you. Start with Why, Simon Sinek. I recommend it on audio because it gets a little repetitive to read it. So take a walk, you know, and you'll really enjoy it. My why at the dealership as the general counsel, I do their everything. I mean, legal, human resources, manage outside litigation, contract review, estate planning, psychotherapy, you know, gift planning. I do it all. I'm still that file clerk that wants to take care of everything. And it's awesome because my boss loves that I want to manage him. But my why at the dealership, we sell Fords and Lincolns. So I highly encourage you to come buy or lease a Ford or Lincoln from Vista Ford in Woodland Hills and Oxnard. Tell them I sent you. I won't get a commission because I don't have a sales license, but I would like you to help keep our business going. My why isn't because I love cars. It's not because I love Fords or Lincolns, although my dad was a huge Ford fan. He was all about buying America. My why is keeping 200 people employed at the dealership. These people have families, and they have bills to pay. And I've gotten to know them and I care about them and I want them to have a job to come to tomorrow. So my why and why I show up and make sure that we still have a business running is so that these people can continue to come work at this amazing family-owned dealership that really cares about its people. I could tell you stories about what my dealers do to help their employees. Their biggest problem is their big heart. They do more than they have to. They overheart it. But you know what? If that's my biggest complaint, that's not too bad. It's a pretty great place to work.
I love hearing, all of these stories and how you made it to where you are now, because it is a winding road. And I think a lot of people don't realize that it is common that most people will take a very winding road before they end up where they, at their final destination. Can you talk a little bit about the differences between what the role was like at a law firm and what your role is like in-house, as far as, I've heard when you're in-house, you have to be more of a generalist. When you were at the law firm, you're kind of more of a hired gun. Can you talk a little bit about the differences in your job?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, this is just my experience. When I was at the firm, like I said, I was doing both advice and counsel, and I was doing litigation, and everything was about the billable hour. It's like you chase the money, and because you got to get paid, and you want to make sure that you can stay there. So it was about billing as many hours as you could, and this was really hard for me because the billable time was much more lucrative in litigation. If you were working on a motion for summary judgment, it was called like a billing bonanza because there was so much opportunity for work there in doing that. On the other hand, the advice and counsel, there was not a lot of money. It was usually a loss leader. We had a lot of clients that were on retainer, and it did not make money, but that's where my heart was. And so going in-house, I got to do more of that, the advice and counsel, so instead of having, 20 or 200 different clients coming to me for advice, now it's just one client coming to me for all kinds of advice. And I have had to be a little bit more of a generalist. And let me tell you this, when I first started, part of what I was afraid of was I only know employment law. I don't know contract law. I don't know dealer law. I don't know these different regulations. What am I going to do? They're going to expect me to know everything because I'm the lawyer, right? You're the lawyer. And once I was able to relieve myself of that needless burden that I have to know everything, it was just so freeing. I am very comfortable saying, I don't know. That's a great question. Let me find out for you. How do I find out? I'm either going to look it up on Google, thank goodness for Google. Look it up on articles, ask some of my friends, make friends with people here. You're going to ask them for free legal advice. Or I'll pay for it. I'll get outside legal counsel who specializes in that particular area, the way that I had specialized in employment law, and ask them. But I got to tell you, it's not very often I've had to do that. Most of the time, in my position as in-house, they want good enough. I like to use the car analogy. Sometimes all I need is a reliable Ford Explorer. Sure, would I like a Porsche? I would, but I don't want to pay for a Porsche, and I don't want to take the time to get the Porsche. I just need that reliable transportation of the Ford Explorer. And that's a lot of what I give day to day is, here's your risk benefit analysis. If you need something more precise, I'll have to research it or I'll have to find it from somewhere else. More often than not, they don't need anything more than that. They call me for guidance and for advice. So I don't know if that really answers your question,
Yeah,
but too bad if it doesn't, because that's what you're getting.
Well, good. I know. So we're getting towards the end here, so we've got about 15 minutes left. If you want to just jump into Q&A, if that's okay, or if you have more things that you want to say, if you want to wrap up real quickly.
So I did want to make sure I got my little pieces of wisdom out here. I was envisioning myself in one of these boxes, like it's almost like I'm talking to my younger self from 20 years ago. What did I want to know? What do I wish somebody had told me? Something that you guys already know, since you know Angie, is find a mentor, and not just one, get multiple. Nurture those relationships, stay in touch with them. They are invaluable, especially when you decide there's a particular job that you like. You know what I did when I decided I wanted to become an in-house car dealer lawyer? I contacted Ken Garf, whose corporate office is across the street from here. I contacted their general counsel, Mike Creer, and I said, will you mentor me? And he said, yes. He was flattered. He has done nothing for me. It's okay, but I know that he's there. If and when I need him, I know that I have somebody to go to for that information. Second, be a mentor to someone else. Everybody has something to teach. You have something to teach me. So if I, was listening to you, I'm sure there's so much I could learn from you as well. Network, develop your relationships now. You don't do it when you need it. You do it now because those relationships are going to come in handy years down the road. I could tell you hours and hours of stories of people that I've met decades ago who are now coming through and helping me, and I am helping them because we've nurtured and maintained those relationships. Start a mindfulness practice, please, whether it's yoga or it's meditation. Trust me, you will thank me. I wish I had done it years and years ago. There's so much power in us being able to control our mind and our thoughts. It will help your legal career, your professional life, as well as your personal life. If you need suggestions, find me and I will tell you. Books. I already told you about Start With Why, Simon Sinek. This will get you thinking about, why you do what you do. Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. This was written, I think, almost 100 years ago, but it is so on point. Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Love this one too. I'm a Brene Brown groupie. The Gifts of Imperfection, really easy to read. I love this book. I'm also an Ekhart Tolle groupie, The Power of Now. Highly recommend it. Save more than you spend. Start investing in a 401k right away. Even if it's just $10 a month, trust me, it'll add up. Everything is temporary, the good and the bad. Just remember that when you're having a miserable time. This too shall pass. Oh, this is my favorite one. Start dog walking, okay? You get paid to exercise, hang out with a furry therapist, and you make money. You get paid for dog walking. I know this because I do it on the side, which is how I met my furry client, Ralphie, and I wrote a book about him recently called Ralphie's Rules for Living the Good Life. Hopefully you guys will check it out. I wrote it to raise money for the orphanages in Lebanon where my dad died. And last but not least, don't take life too seriously. Have fun. We're supposed to be here to have fun, I think. And that's it. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Talar, for all of this advice. There's some questions in the chat box if we can get to those.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, if you don't mind asking answering. I think Michelle had a question. As in-house counsel, are you able to practice outside of your employment, or is it just limited to working for that company?
Right. Yeah, I only work for my company, and honestly, I love it that way. I don't want to have to work for anybody else. I don't keep timesheets, although I will confess, I do still keep track of everything I do just because it makes me feel better. Is there any specific area of law that you must have learned to be in-house? Is it just one area or a combination? No, there isn't. It really depends on, who you go to work for and what their need is. For me, my employer, Vista Ford, their need was their human resources. I mean, in California, it's just a beast. And so they really needed help with that area. I happened to be their outside employment lawyer. That's why they wanted me. So it's not like there's one particular area that you need to go in-house. But, if you're trying to figure it out, I'd say general. Yeah, go to a general practice firm. You get a little bit of everything, and then you'll see what you gravitate towards, if anything. Or you might decide, I like being a generalist. I'd like to know a little bit about everything. Did you not leave right away because you felt a responsibility being you just made partner? No, I did not feel a responsibility. I realized after my dad died, I wasn't the one who wanted to be partner. My dad did. I mean, he even asked me on his deathbed, have you made partner yet? Because that's how important it was to him. My why for becoming a partner was because that's what my dad wanted. I didn't leave right away because I was trying to find where I should go to. I didn't know. I just knew I was unhappy and I couldn't stay doing what I was doing. But I didn't want to be stupid about it and, go to another situation that made me unhappy. So that's why it took so long. I was very careful. And a part of it too was, partnership gives you security. It may have been miserable, but it was very secure. So I was afraid of leaving that security, that certainty, and that paycheck of partnership for something that was going to be the unknown. And so that was really frightening, making that jump to in-house. Having my employment agreement with a 1-year guarantee, that definitely helped. Because at the time, for all I knew, after a year, they were going to go, oh gosh, we don't have enough work for you to do, or we don't like you, or we don't need you. And then I would be off trying to find another job. So that was very frightening. What were the books again? I can list them.
Answered those questions. So Fatima dropped all of the books. So we're good there.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, and another tip, which I just recently discovered, I spend so much money on books. If you don't have the Libby app, Libby, it's your local public library. You can check out books on audio and ebook through your local library. And that's where I get all my books now instead of spending money. For some of them that I want to mark up and read over again, I'll still buy it. But otherwise, Libby is awesome. What is the best resource for Lsat that you recommend? I am not relevant when it comes to Lsat, because when I was doing the Lsat, there was no technology available. And I don't even know if the courses, I think I did Kaplan.
You probably took the Lsat on paper. It's now digital.
Oh, really?
And it's also, they now have an in-home version that you take during COVID. They've created the Lsat Flex, so it's probably a lot different. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have good advice for the Lsat, except to study and take lots of practice tests. I did that for the bar exam as well, and practicing really worked for me.
Yeah, whoever if you need tips, please reach out to me. A lot of lawyers, experienced lawyers, all of us, can at least say what we went through, but we're not experts in Lsat prep. So typically I tell the students, if you need, resources about that, I can connect you to like an Lsat coach or something who can talk to you about that. But most lawyers, we've only ever taken it once, and that was for applying to law school. So.
Right. So just one final thought that I have, unless you have any other questions, is I believe in paying it forward. I didn't get to highlight all the helpers that I had along the way, but I had a lot, and I had to ask for help as much as I hated doing it. I'm telling you, I would like to be available to you in the capacity that I can. I can't make all your dreams come true. I'm no genie in a bottle. But if I can make introductions for you, if you have specific questions, or just want to be able to stay in touch and count me amongst your network in your little bank, as long as you're nice. I'm allergic to mean people. So if you're mean, do not connect with me. I can't handle that. But otherwise, I would love to help you along the way, whether you decide that, you know, a legal career is right for you or not. I just want to help people do life better, you know?
Thank you so much.
Not,
that is so
not that I have it figured out.
But that's an amazing offer. You guys should definitely take Talar up on it if you're a nice person.
Right.
I should put that on my LinkedIn, Talar. Do not connect with me if you're a mean person. I like it. Well, yeah, if anybody else has any questions, feel free to jump on camera. We've got about 4 or 5 minutes left if you have any other remaining questions for Talar. So go ahead and ask away. I know, you know, being an in-house counsel is one of those career paths that I had always heard about when I was in law school, but you're not really sure what all goes into it. So a lot of people, you know, want to know more specifics about it. And I find that it really is different depending on what kind of employer you work for. You know, I mean, an in-house counsel at a tech company will do something very different usually than an in-house counsel at a consumer products company, and, you know, or at a pharmaceutical company. So I think it really depends on the type of client that you end up working for. But I know that it always helps to know people in lots of different roles. And so definitely connect with Talar. She's a fantastic resource. And thank you so much for sharing all of your experiences with us, Talar. Your story about your father was so powerful, and I can't believe that you went through all of that while you were practicing. I mean, I can only imagine how difficult it was, you know, and what was flashing through your mind as you were going to Lebanon while, you know, working for this law firm and working in litigation, no less. So gosh.
Well, and especially it was the year I was up for partner. I mean, that's what, you know, everybody was waiting for. But when I got that call, I mean, there was no doubt in my mind.
Sure.
I was going to my father. I didn't care what happened to my career, if they fired me or not. Yeah. Stephen, are you raising your hand or are you giving a high five?
I was raising my hand. I just wanted to say that, you know, I really appreciated all the insight you gave, especially being so vulnerable, like about like the points in your life that you felt were key turning points. For me, again, my name's Stefan. I'm a junior political science major at Lehman College. I aspire to be a lawyer. Thank you, Angie, for just having this platform. For me, one of my biggest questions about my why, right? Being that I feel like why is more so like just a topic at the top of the whiteboard, and you're just trying to break down how exactly it really pans out. I've never worked at a law firm. You know, I've been fortunate to have people like Angie in my corner to discuss like what potential areas of the law I want to work in professionally. I'm trying to figure out though, before law school, how can I determine for sure, am I going to do mergers and acquisitions or entertainment or trademark law? Like, how do I narrow down, you know, where exactly that I want to essentially like, you know, where do I want to practice, right? Like, how do I figure that out?
Can I answer that?
It's Laura. They're asking
or am I supposed to?
Yeah, they're asking you.
I'm supposed to answer it. Okay. I have the perfect answer for you. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
You don't figure it out. And this is the reason why. Like I was saying earlier, everything is temporary. How temporary, we don't know. This idea that, and don't get me wrong, I understand your question. I had the same question to myself. I felt like, oh gosh, I'm fortunate. I'm one of the fortunate few that knows exactly what area of law that I want to go into. But you know what that did? It trapped me. It made me feel like I can't change my mind. I'm married to this now. And you know what? You don't have to be. It's, have you guys seen Frozen? I don't know if you have kids, but that's one of the benefits. You get to watch cartoons and learn things from them too. I think it's Anna who says, sometimes you just got to do the next right thing. Don't look for the forever career, the forever job. There doesn't have to be. Who knows what's going to happen? Okay. the way I like to think of it is like a 1 to 3 year plan. Is this the next right thing for the next 1 to 3 years? It may end up lasting you 30, who knows? But my advice personally, what I would have given to my younger self is don't try to find that perfect. See what speaks to you now. And if there isn't one magical area that really speaks to you, but your why still drives you to be a lawyer, that's fine. Pick the next right thing. Is it the job offer? Is it the people you like to work with? Because like I said, my why for working at a car dealership isn't because I'm all about selling Fords. My why is because the two people who hired me were good people. I could trust them. Okay. They weren't going to be clients trying to get me to do things that I didn't ethically feel comfortable with. Okay. And my work was going to have a purpose of keeping these people employed. So your why in terms of the area doesn't necessarily have to be because you love M&A or you love criminal or you love contracts. It could be totally unrelated to that you decide you're going to work at a particular place.
Yeah, I totally echo everything that Talar just said, but I do think that it is beneficial to just talk to a lot of lawyers and just see, what drives them and see if you can see bits of yourself in them. I think that it always helps to hear the experiences of other people and to see, how did they end up in these areas. And it may have been a very winding road, like Talar says. So really take some time to get to know lawyers for who they are and ask them questions about their whole journey as opposed to just like what are they doing right now in their current role, because you might find that it was a very winding road to get there and that might inform you more about different possible paths that you could take.
Yeah, I appreciate that perspective, and just because of time, I'm just like putting it out there. I'll be reaching out to you via LinkedIn just because like I really want to have a more conversation. But thank you so much for being.
You're welcome. I'm happy to share. Yeah, as much as you want, I'll share.
Alrighty, well, thank you so much, Talar. I really appreciate you for being here, and everybody, will see you again next week on Tuesday and Thursday for more meetups, and then next week we also have our virtual happy hour, so come and join us for that, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend, so talk to you all soon.